Most of the destruction that modern society has caused in the world is the result of the mind being disconnected from the heart and the body. A brilliant quote from Jack Kornfield in episode 280 of Heart Wisdom, The Healing Breath, Reawakening the Body, Reconnecting with Life. I'm Ganesh, and as always honored to open the door to this fine talk, stemming from a talk Jack gave at the Insight Meditation Society in November of 1992. It's always cool when you pull a vintage talk. I'm sorry for calling 1992 vintage, but it's cool when you pull a vintage talk and the subject matter just lines up so perfectly with what is going on, or more so what feels needed. Really prescient reminders, maybe call-outs. Jack talks about how we are a society with a 15-second attention span. And this was decades before TikTok and Instagram and Reels. But the solution is the same. Dr. Kornfield prescribes that we go back to the basics and shares how we can begin to train the puppy of the mind. I don't know if your mind puppy has kind of gotten a little out of control as of late and maybe needs to go be taken for some simple walks and remember when it's time to sit, to actually sit. But that's been definitely going on in the puppy pen in my mind, so I hope maybe there is some resonance there for you as well. But in this podcast, Jack shares on the difficulty of politics. This talk was actually right on the eve of the election in 1992, so there's a slight political charge. He shares a poem, a charm to use against the language of politics. Which just the name of that is poetry itself. But amidst some political banter and some really nice puppy training, the through line of this podcast is the healing breath. The fact that if we can sit down and begin to turn our shallow breaths, I don't know how many of you get on the computer or just get caught in your day and you just notice, oh my God, my breath is like barely going in and out of my lungs, it feels. And then you take that and you fill up. These are the kind of breaths that Jack is talking about in this podcast, and the kind of breaths that fill the body and reconnect us, reconnect the mind, which we get so caught in, back into the heart and the body, so that we can live an embodied, authentic, happy, strong, balanced life, which is what we need in this world right now. We need a bunch of regulated, grounded, strong, breathing people. So I hope that this podcast becomes a catalyst and a salve to bring us all back to that nice, intuitive flow of breath. And please excuse the segue. This is why I'm here. There are some other amazing offerings that can help bring you into a beautiful, intuitive flow. April 7th, Jack is reigniting his online masterclass for interactive guided meditation. This is such a beautifully shot and produced and masterly crafted course. Jack is teaching some of the teachers and students at Spirit Rock how to guide others on deep, emotional, life-changing guided meditations. I don't personally guide others through meditations, but just watching how he was able to do that helped me just in my normal life when somebody's sharing. I now feel like I have a larger skill set for just holding space and listening and helping guide people to their own intuitive understanding of whatever they have going on. So if that kind of thing resonates with you, head to jackkornfield.com and go to the courses section. This is the live masterclass and interactive guided meditation. And then also on April 7th, big day, We have the Spirit Rock guided meditation and Monday night Dharma Talk. This is online. Jack does this generally once a month, and it's such a beautiful time to tap in with Sangha and hear what Jack has to say about what's going on in the world, which is quite riveting lately. So I hope you'll join us. It's pay what you can. Other than that, I hope you enjoy this just beautiful episode of the Heart Wisdom Podcast. Thank you for being here. This is episode 280, The Healing Breath, reawakening the body, reconnecting with life. May you be happy and healthy. May you be safe and protected. May you live sweetly and authentically. And may your breath reawaken your body and reconnect you with life. Namaste.
Tonight I'd like to continue working with the theme for this fall of awareness and attention that is developed out of the Buddha's teachings of the four foundations of mindfulness. We've been working with different aspects of it for the last month or two. And particularly I'd like to talk tonight about awareness of breathing. I'd been planning this for some time, and then as we got closer, it became clear that tonight is also the pre-election night, where the society around is at this fevered election pitch. And I wondered how this would fit together with that kind of madness. And one thing I realized, just returning this weekend from a week down in the desert in Yucca Valley leading a retreat, is how wonderful it was to be on retreat and have no news at all. It was splendid, and I realized I missed nothing, Certain great monasteries in Asia are really held as oases, as islands of sanity and calm, even in the midst of revolutions and warfare and all the things that tend to sweep nations in Asia and elsewhere periodically every 50 or 100 or 200 years. These places are very consciously created as islands of sanity. So tonight, by working with the breath, we'll take it as a breather, if you will, from all that's been happening out there. A poem to begin with tonight, entitled A Charm to Use Against the Language of Politics. It's a sort of, something that you can hold up in front of the TV or something to keep you straight. A charm to use against the language of politics. Say over and over the names of things, the clean nouns, weeping birch, bloodstone, tangerine, banshee damask rose. Read field guides, atlases, gravestones. At the store, bless each apple by kind, Macintosh, Winesap, Delicious, Jonathan. Enunciate the vegetables and herbs, okra, calendula. Go deeper into the terms of some small landscape, spiders, for example. Then, after a speech on compromising the environment for technology that you hear on television, recite the tough, silky structure of spider webs, tropical stick, ladder web, mesh web, filmy dome, funnel, trapdoor. When you've compared the candidates' slippery platforms, chant the spiders, comb-footed, round-headed, garden cross, feather-legged, ogre-faced, black widow. Remember that most short verbs are ethical. Hatch, grow, spin, trap, eat. Dig deep, pronounce clearly, pull the words in over your head, hole up for the duration. A charm. This is written by Veronica Patterson. It's in a magazine called The Sun, which is a wonderful journal. So the question that's raised, perhaps, as we speak about breathing tonight is, how can we live wisely in this complex human existence of ours? The Buddha offers to us a very direct and simple recommendation, which comes through the sutras, or the teachings of mindfulness and breathing, anapanasati. Anapana means breathing in and breathing out. And he says, my friends, take time. Friends, a practitioner, someone who wishes to learn this art, goes into the forest, to the foot of a tree, to a quiet place. Sits stably, holding their body erect, and begins to be aware of their life breath. Breathing in, they know they're breathing in. Breathing out, they know they're breathing out. Breathing in a long breath. I know I'm breathing in a long breath. Breathing out, I'm breathing out a long breath. Breathing in a short breath, they know the same, short breath in and out. Breathing in, I'm aware of my whole body. Breathing out, I'm aware of my whole body. Breathing in, I make my whole body calm and at peace. Breathing out, the same. Breathing in, I feel joyful. Breathing out, I feel joyful. This is how one can practice. Breathing in, I'm aware of the activities of mind. Breathing out, I'm aware of the activities. Breathing in, I let the mind settle, become peaceful. Breathing out, I make my mind happy. Breathing in, I concentrate. Breathing out, I let go. Breathing in, I make space. Breathing out, I find liberation. Goes on like that. That's the gist of it. My friends, he says, come and join me in the rush of the world. Sit quietly. Reconnect with yourself and your life. Breathe. Now, how to do this? Because it's really central to meditation. Some of these words will be reminders to those of you who are old students who've worked with your breath for a long time and noticed and felt and counted tens of thousands of breaths on retreats. 10,987, 10,988. But there's still 10,999. Some of you might be newer to it. So it begins by taking a simple posture, as we did this evening, sitting and feeling yourself on the earth, sitting halfway between heaven and earth, like a king or a queen with a certain presence or dignity. Letting your eyes close gently, or not, as you like, and bringing your attention to feel, not to watch or look at, but actually to feel the aliveness of your body and its breath, the expansion and contraction. You feel it in the nose as tingles, swirls, coolness, warmth. You feel it in the throat as tickles, as slight rippling sensations, again, as coolness. You feel it in the chest as it expands, opens, contracts, releases. You feel it in the belly as it rises and falls, hardens and softens, moves. Let your breath have its natural cycles as you pay attention to it. We often get the idea that if we're doing breathing, it should be a certain kind of breath. But first, it's simply to feel the breath as it is. Even if the breath is very soft, let your attention become as soft as the breath, to listen with that kind of care. Where do you feel that soft breath? Where does it show itself? Where are the feelings or sensations? Just a slight tingle in your throat, or just a little movement in the belly. Let your attention be as soft and careful as the breath. like a little spider web again that you just want to touch. Suzuki Roshi calls the breath a swinging door, no inside, no outside, just this kind of sensation that floats in our body. If it's difficult to feel your breath, simple. Take your hand and place it on your belly. Rest it there, right around your navel, somewhere right in the middle, and leave it there for as long as you like. 5 minutes, half an hour, all morning is fine. And in the palm of your hand, there's a famous Tibetan text called Buddha in the palm of your hand. So this is Buddha in the palm of your hand. You put your hand on your belly, and you just feel in the palm of your hand the natural movement of your belly. That's also your breath. It sort of expands like someone blowing up a balloon or a watermelon that's growing. And then it shrinks a little bit, contracts. So the art of being aware of the breathing is really the art of reconnecting with our body, with this movement of life. Then some people would say, well, I did it for a few breaths or half an hour or something. Normally you go to a monastery and get these teachings, and the teacher would say, here's the practice of working with the breathing. Do it for 4 or 6 or 8 hours a day for the next 3 months or 6 months or a year. You can come and talk to me about it if you need to. And after a year, we'll check in and see how your practice is going. So you get a little bored. I watched my breath for 20 minutes. I felt my belly for this time. I was trying to be aware of my breath. I tell at retreats the story of a friend whose son was stillborn, or so it seemed, and they gave him artificial respiration. And we're way out in the country, no oxygen, waited to see if this little infant would start to breathe. She said, there's where I learned really what it was like to be aware of the breath. And it wasn't even my own breath. It's just holding this tiny child and waiting to sense the slightest movement of the breath. Or the Zen master whose student complained, watching the breath, feeling the breath, sensing the breath, having the breath in the body, I'm bored with it. Zen master takes the student and pushes his head underwater and holds him down there for a while. Struggles to get out, can't get out till really a long time. Finally, the Zen master lets him up. Gee, it feels good to breathe again. Zen master says, you said the breath isn't interesting, huh? How about that? If you can get interested in that way, your enlightenment is certain. The breath is alive. Because we're alive. That's really the sign of when you die, isn't it? You stop breathing. It's our life itself. Now, it's hard for us because we are what the New York Times psychology writer Dan Goleman described us. He said, we're a nation with a 15-second attention span. So you feel the breath, 1 or 2 breaths, and then your mind wanders away. You think about what you have to do tomorrow and the next day and what somebody said to you and your plans and your car and your family and your bank account and your body and, your garden and the traffic and all these things. And all of a sudden, I was being with the breath. So you have to bring the puppy back, as we say, or St. Francis de Sales, bring the heart back 1,000 times, though it wanders each time. Just coming back each time, training the puppy. The dog runs after the stick or the car or something. Come on, back here. Okay, next breath. You don't have to beat the dog or, be abusive to the puppy. Just bring it back, put it back down, stay again. And gradually, the very process of coming back over and over 1,000 times is the meditation itself. That's the movement of resuming our true nature, just returning. So let's practice with it. We'll do a few simple breath practices tonight. So sit up for we'll do it for 3 minutes. Zen Master Paul Reps said that if you meditate for 3 minutes, you probably can't do it wrong. It's the perfect length of time. So let your eyes close. for a moment. We'll just do it for 2 or 3 minutes. And for these 3 minutes, I would like you to feel your breath wherever it is. If you don't feel it, you can put your hand on your belly and feel it in your palm of your hand. And to count your breath, a very simple way of helping the mind and body stay connected. As you count the breath, mostly feel it. Feel it come in or move your chest or belly or throat and go out. And just at the end of the breath, say softly the number 1. And then feel the whole next breath. And when it ends, say softly the number 2. So you're not too busy focusing on the numbers, but really feeling each breath. Just that simple. Feeling the breath, which is a process of being alive or awake with your whole body and mind connected. Does it work to count your breath? And you feel how that very simple act, being alive, counting, but focusing on the feeling, the numbers are just 5%, just peripheral. And as you do, you begin to feel the breath bringing you more awake in the present. And you get to sense your body more as it opens up, breathing in the whole body as the sutra recommends, feeling the feelings that arise, listening, becoming more spacious, letting go. So as we start to feel the breath, to count it, to be with it in some regular way, even if it's just 2 or 3 or 4 breaths and going off and bringing the puppy back, gradually then we can learn the next step in this process of being with the breath, where the Buddha recommends feeling the breath in the whole body. That is, you feel your breath first in your nose or throat or chest or belly, and that's fine. Rest with it. And then as you get a little quieter, you can also feel at times the breath is reflected everywhere in the body. You can sense it somewhere, feeling in the whole body. That means reconnecting with this human body. Most of the destruction that modern society has caused in the world, ecological destruction or modern computer-aided warfare and so forth, is the result of the mind being disconnected from the heart and the body. Because mentally, it's an interesting game to program targets for nuclear missiles or work out, computer war games, or think about maximizing profit. But if you have to breathe smoggy air, and drink water that's polluted and taste it and feel the physical effects of what we do, you can't do it. There's a story that I heard around this 500th year celebration of Christopher Columbus's voyage, of a Central American tribe of Indians, Native Americans, whose chief symbol in their tribal iconography is a cross inside of a circle. And the cross in the center represents that which is human, which is divided and trying to understand and create the nature of the human mind. And the circle represents the great spirit, the wholeness of life, the cross within the circle. So when they heard these white conquistadors coming off these strange vehicles out in the ocean, with horses and so forth that arrived, they went to see them and they wondered what kind of sign they would bring with them, what symbol there was of their civilization. This is a true story. And then they looked and they saw the cross, which was familiar to them, but they saw that there wasn't a circle around it. And they said, uh-oh, I think we're in for some trouble here, because it's all this part of dividing and creating and what's human, without the part that's the spirit, that's the whole. So the next instructions of the Buddha is to feel the breath in the whole body. That is to sense as you breathe how it actually vibrates or tingles in all parts of your body in subtle ways. The pressure, the movement, the warmth, the cool. If you sit and pay attention and get quiet just for a few breaths, calming the body, making the body peaceful, you can feel how the breathing in and out somehow can be sensed in every part of your body. Does that make sense to you all? Let's try it again. Close your eyes just for a couple minutes. This next instruction from the Buddha: sitting present, aware of breathing in and breathing out. I breathe in and I'm aware of my whole body. I breathe out and feel my whole body. I breathe in and let my whole body become calm. I breathe out and let my whole body be at peace. See if you can feel the breath subtly in all the parts of your body. Breathing in, I feel my whole body. Breathing out, I calm my body. Could you feel that, some of you? Makes sense to feel the breath even more fully in the whole of your body than just in the throat or nose or chest? How many people could feel the breath somewhat in the rest of their body? So probably half of you or more anyway. Yeah. Uh-huh. So you begin to notice things as you feel the breath. What happens is you feel a change in your pulse, or you feel change in temperature. Sometimes the breath, one part of the breath is warmer or cooler than another, or your body changes temperature as you breathe. Also, you begin to notice other things. The breathing puts you in touch with the changing rhythms of your body itself. As you begin to work with the breath and deepen this practice, this simple offering of feeling life breath, you can begin to sense how breath is healing. To breathe into the body is to give attention to open instead of contraction. When you breathe and feel your whole body or breathe into some place, it's to allow movement, to allow yourself to touch the things that have contracted or wounded. You can feel when you start to open the breath into the body, those places that feel neglected or closed off or wounded or tight. And they're tight because they don't move. Blood doesn't circulate, the breath doesn't move them much. And that's the place of disease, or sickness, or pain. So sometimes you can actually direct your breath into those places. Just to feel the pain, or the tightness, or the wound, or the hurt, or the contraction, or the tension. And breathe into it, not so much to try to change it, but to feel it, to touch it with your breath, and allow it to be felt, and gradually it will open. Breathing into what's present. One of the monasteries in which I trained in Thailand years ago, the teacher there was also the teacher for the Queen Mother of Thailand, and she had come to him around the time that I'd come there to practice, a bit before. Unable to sleep. The king of Thailand had an elder brother who was assassinated. So one of her two sons was killed in the palace through palace intrigue of some kind or other. Various other things, lest you think the lives of kings and queens and so forth are all a picnic. Made the palace not such an easy place to live for her. And so she came to study meditation, and she was given all these talks on the Buddhist teachings and so forth, which she'd heard living in a Buddhist country. And my teacher said she really didn't learn that aspect of Buddhist teachings so well. She wasn't all that good as a meditation student, but she sent him this great and wonderful gift at the end of her period of being in the monastery when she got back home, with a simple note to him: "Dear teacher, I thank you so much. Now I'm finally able to get some rest." Because what the meditation had done for her, she carried so much fear and pain and grief that mostly what it did was just let her feel that and learn to open to it. So that the lack of sleep, she wasn't able to sleep for some years. She said, "This is the greatest blessing. All I could ask from meditation is just that I could have a good night's sleep." To breathe is healing. It awakens our whole body. It awakens when we feel deeply the soles of our feet, the windows of our eyes, the heart of our hearts, the voice, the language of our throat. All of these things get touched when we breathe, can open as we breathe, the places that we hold. Read you another poem, second poem for the evening. This was written by a man named Mark O'Brien, who was stricken by polio at age 6. Mark has spent the rest of his life in an iron lung. To write, he strikes the keys of his computer with a mouth stick clenched between his teeth. And that's how he writes his poems, lying there. This poem is entitled Breathing. Grasping for straws is easier. You can see the straws. This most excellent canopy, the air, look, presses down upon me at 15 pounds per square inch. A dense, heavy, blue glowing ocean, supporting the weight of condors that swim in its churning currents. All I get is a thin stream of it, a finger's width of the rope that ties me to life. As I labor like a stevedore to keep the connection. Water wouldn't be so circumspect. Water would crash in like a drunken sailor, but air is prissy and genteel, teasing me with its nearness and pervading immensity. The vast, circumambient atmosphere allows me but 90 cubic centimeters of its billions of gallons and miles of sky. I inhale it anyway, with help, knowing that it will hurt in the weary ends of my crumpled paper bag lungs, knowing that it will hurt and heal. Imagine lying there for your life, being breathed by that machine, breathing. To breathe into life is to heal, to touch things with the breath. Breath connects us with life. We breathe out, and the trees around breathe in the carbon dioxide that we exhale. They take it in their leaves from the bottom in the pores of the leaves, and they breathe out oxygen, and then we breathe that in, the nice little exchange between us.